Boeing's 777X has been making waves as the biggest, boldest twinjet ever built, boasting folding wingtips, massive capacity, and promises of unmatched efficiency. But while all eyes have been on Boeing's giant, Airbus may be quietly preparing a surprise of its own. The rumored A350-2000, a stretched and re-engineered version of the A350, could become Airbus's bold counterpunch in this high-stakes rivalry. Bigger, more powerful, and designed to challenge the 777X head-on, it raises one big question. Is this the aircraft that finally topples Boeing's crown jewel, or just an ambitious idea destined to stay on paper? When Boeing first unveiled the 777X, it wasn't just another aircraft, it was a statement. This was the future of long-haul travel, the largest twin-engine jetliner the world had ever seen, designed to replace not only the aging 747s, but also the immensely popular 777-300 ERS that had defined international travel for 2 decades. The 777X's headline feature is, of course, its folding wingtips, an engineering marvel never before seen on a commercial jet. With wings stretching over 235 feet wide, the folding tips allow the 777X to fit into standard airport gates, while still delivering the aerodynamic efficiency of a much larger wing in flight. It's a blend of practicality and ambition that perfectly reflects Boeing's gamble. Capacity is another selling point. The 777-9 variant is set to carry more than 400 passengers in a typical 3-class configuration, giving it a range and scale unmatched by Airbus's current A350 lineup. For airlines that operate at slot-constrained airports, this extra capacity makes the aircraft especially attractive. Simply put, more seats per flight mean higher revenue potential without needing more takeoff slots. Orders soon followed. Emirates, Qatar Airways, and Lufthansa, carriers known for their reliance on large, long-haul aircraft, quickly became launch customers. For these airlines, the 777X represented not only prestige, but also practicality, a way to move massive numbers of passengers efficiently between global hubs. Yet, like many ambitious programs, the 777X has faced delays. Certification challenges, supply chain struggles, and questions about Boeing's safety culture after the 737 MAX crisis slowed the timeline. The jet that was supposed to enter service in 2020 has been pushed back repeatedly, with current estimates suggesting mid-2025 or beyond. Still, despite the setbacks, the 777X remains Boeing's crown jewel in development, a symbol of its determination to dominate the high-capacity twinjet market. And while the world waits for the first passengers to board, Airbus has been watching closely. Because if the 777X takes over the skies as planned, it leaves Airbus at risk of being left behind in the upper end of the market. And that's where the story gets fascinating. Airbus may be quietly preparing a bold response, one that could redefine this rivalry. But before we dive into Airbus's secret plan, take a moment to support the channel, hit that like button, and subscribe for more deep dive aviation stories. It helps us keep bringing you the content you love.
While Boeing has been busy showcasing the 777X, Airbus has been quietly studying its own path forward. On paper, Airbus already has a strong player in this segment, the A350-1000. With room for around 366 passengers in a typical 3-class layout and impressive range, the A350-1000 is a highly efficient long-haul jet that airlines like Qatar Airways, British Airways, and Cathay Pacific already operate. It's lighter, it uses advanced carbon fiber composites, and it has proven to be more fuel efficient than older 777 models. But here's the catch. The A350-1000 still falls short of the 777-9. Boeing's newest twinjet is simply larger, capable of carrying more than 400 passengers and flying farther with that load. In the high-capacity segment, Airbus currently doesn't have a direct competitor. That gap leaves airlines like Emirates, famous for pushing aircraft to the limits of size and range, asking Airbus a simple question. Where's your answer to the 777X? That's where the concept of the A350-2000 comes in. Imagine taking the proven A350 platform and stretching it even further. The A350-2000, as rumored, would extend the fuselage enough to seat well over 400 passengers, possibly matching or even exceeding the 777-9's capacity. It would combine Airbus's composite efficiency with sheer size, giving carriers another option at the very top end of the market. Airbus has flirted with this idea before. Executives have acknowledged that a larger A350 is technically possible, but launching it would require careful planning. Stretching a plane is not as simple as adding more seats. The structure must be reinforced, the landing gear adjusted, and, most importantly, the engines upgraded to provide the necessary thrust without compromising efficiency. This is why Airbus has been cautious. The memory of the A380, a technological marvel but a commercial disappointment, still looms large in Toulouse. Airbus cannot afford another too-big-to-succeed aircraft. Any move toward the A350-2000 must balance ambition with realistic demand. Still, the potential payoff is massive. If Airbus can bring the A350-2000 to life, it would directly challenge Boeing in the one area where Seattle currently holds an edge. For now, the project remains in the shadows, but whispers from industry insiders suggest Airbus may be biding its time, waiting to see how strong airline appetite for the 777X truly is. Designing a bigger airplane sounds simple in theory. Just stretch the fuselage and add more seats. But in reality, it's one of the hardest challenges an aircraft manufacturer can face. For Airbus, the proposed A350-2000 would not just be a longer version of the A350-1000, it would be an entirely new beast with unique engineering hurdles. First, the fuselage stretch. Adding extra length means more structural stress during flight. The longer the tube, the greater the bending forces on takeoff, landing, and turbulence. To compensate, Airbus would need to reinforce the fuselage structure, potentially adding weight. That weight reduces efficiency, which is exactly what airlines don't want when fuel costs remain a constant concern. Second, the landing gear. A larger aircraft means higher takeoff weights, and the A350-1000's current gear may not be sufficient. Airbus might need to redesign the gear to handle higher loads or even adjust the gear placement to prevent tail strikes during rotation. These are not minor tweaks. They require significant engineering investment. The wings are another critical factor. The current A350 wing is already optimized for efficiency, but stretching the plane means more lift is needed. Airbus could either strengthen the existing wing, potentially with new composite materials, or design a modified wing altogether. Boeing faced a similar challenge with the 777X, which is why it introduced those iconic folding wingtips. A clever way to keep massive wings airport compatible while still delivering aerodynamic benefits. But perhaps the biggest question mark is the engines. The A350-1000 relies on Rolls-Royce's Trent XWB-97 engines, each producing around 97,000 pounds of thrust. For a stretched A350-2000, that might not be enough. Rolls-Royce has hinted at next-generation technology, such as the UltraFan program, which promises higher efficiency and thrust levels. Yet the UltraFan is still in development, and entry into service remains uncertain. Betting on an unproven engine could delay the entire program, just as Boeing experienced with the GE9X on the 777X. Airbus finds itself in a tricky position: push ahead with the current engine technology and risk underpowering the aircraft, or wait for Rolls-Royce to deliver the next big leap and risk losing years to Boeing. This delicate balance may explain why Airbus has not officially launched the A350-2000. The engineering challenges are solvable, but the timing is everything.
The success of any new aircraft doesn't just depend on engineering, it depends on who's willing to buy it. And when it comes to ultra-large twin jets, only a handful of airlines in the world are truly interested. That's why Airbus is carefully watching the market before deciding whether to greenlight the A350-2000. At the top of that list are the Gulf carriers. Emirates, Qatar Airways, and Etihad have built their business models around moving large numbers of passengers through mega hubs like Dubai and Doha. Emirates in particular has long been a driving force behind big aircraft programs. The airline pushed Airbus into building the A380 and has been a major launch customer for the 777X. For Emirates, seat count matters. More passengers per slot equals more revenue. If Airbus offers a stretched A350 with over 400 seats and lower operating costs than the 777X, you can bet Emirates would take a close look. Asian carriers are another potential market. Airlines like Singapore Airlines, Cathay Pacific, and Korean Air serve dense, high-demand routes where slots are limited and passengers expect comfort. A larger A350 could give them flexibility to operate high-capacity flights without moving to a double-decker giant like the A380. China's major airlines might also be drawn to a big Airbus jet, especially as Beijing pushes to diversify fleets between Boeing and Airbus. In the West, the demand picture is more complicated. U.S. airlines like United and Delta prefer fleet flexibility. They've ordered A350-900s and 787s, but have been more cautious about committing to super-large aircraft. For them, the risk of filling 400-plus seats daily is higher. However, on select trans-Pacific and transatlantic routes, a stretched A350 could still make sense. The timing also matters. The pandemic reshaped airline strategies. Flexibility and efficiency are valued more than sheer size. Many carriers are hesitant to lock themselves into giants that could become hard to fill if demand shifts. That's part of why Airbus is moving carefully. They don't want a repeat of the A380, which dazzled the industry but failed to generate enough long-term orders. Still, if Boeing's 777X continues to secure orders and proves successful after entry into service, Airbus risks being left out of the high-capacity segment. The A350-2000 could then become less of an option and more of a necessity. Airlines love having competition, and if enough of them show interest, Airbus might finally be pushed to launch its bold answer.
So here we are, Boeing with its massive 777X, delayed but still promising to redefine long-haul travel, and Airbus with its rumored A350-2000, a project that could either become the perfect counterstrike or remain nothing more than whispers in the aviation world. This isn't just about airplanes. It's about the future of long-haul travel, about how airlines will connect global hubs, and about the prestige of two aerospace giants locked in a decades-long rivalry. Boeing wants to prove it can still dominate the skies with innovation and capacity. Airbus, on the other hand, may be waiting for the right moment to strike back with a design that combines efficiency, size, and range. The real question is, will we ever see the A350-2000 roll out of the hangar? Or will the 777X reign alone as the undisputed king of large twin jets? What do you think? Should Airbus take the risk and launch the A350-2000? Or is the market too small for another giant? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the future of aviation, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more stories just like this.